It is the 30th day of April 2023, and we have so much lined up for you in our bulletin tonight. But first, the highlights. Tonight, the intended protests by Azimir leaders in Nairobi has been prohibited by the authorities.
We are declining to allow the Azimir team the go-ahead to proceed with the demonstration.
Nairobi police boss Adamson Bungei says the right to gather peaceably and unarmed to demonstrate is not absolute. President William Ruto has announced his plans to set up a judicial commission of inquiry to investigate the mass graves discovered in Kilifi's Shakahola area, allegedly associated with a cult. The Mai Mahio Highway has been temporarily shut down by the Kenya National Highway Authority (KENHA) following the emergence of cracks on the road. The authority made the decision to close the highway after observing the crack, which is located 6 kilometers away from Mai Mahio town. My name is Dennis Otieno. Our sign language interpreter is Catherine Simaloy. Now, I trust you're doing well. Welcome to the broadcast. Tonight, we will be covering the closure of the Mai Mahio to Naivasha Highway. And our reporter, Willie Dennis is currently on standby, ready to fill us in on the latest happenings from within that specific area. We will be getting to join up with Willie Dennis as the bulletin progresses. Now, from that specific note, of course, we will be getting to join Willie Dennis a little bit later. Now, to our top story tonight, Kenya Kwanza allies have told of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta for being involved in active politics. This comes amid plans by the Azimir coalition to get back to mass action. And as Flora Limuki reports, Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, has reiterated his plea to prevent retired President Uhuru Kenyatta from receiving a pension due to his involvement in politics.
Former President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit to the Jubilee headquarters at a time when his party is crumbling down has sparked reactions from leaders allied to the ruling government as they termed the move as unconstitutional. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has renewed the call to have the former head of state denied pension over his involvement in politics 6 months after his tenure came to an end.
You are the president of the people of Kenya regardless of your party. And you have retired, you must go and stay in peace.
Wakati umestaafu kama rais, tunataka tukuheshimu na tukuenzi kama rais. Na uwe umuombe rais ambaye anachukua hatamu baada yako afaulu. Rais wetu ambaye amestaafu, Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, usiitikie kupelekwa kwa kona ile tuliona last week ya maneno ati ya kuandamana kwa ofisi. Usiitikie hawa watu wakuweke sufuria kwa kichwa.
At the same time, the leaders have castigated Azimir's move to get back to nationwide mass protest, saying it is derailing the development agenda. This comes amid a stalemate that threatens to rock bipartisan talks planned to be held by both coalitions to find a long-lasting solution to issues raised.
Wale wanaandamana wanafukuza investors katika urban centers. Na wale wanasumbua wakulima hapa na wafugaji sasa wanahakikisha kwamba zile hidden treasures za West Pokot mtu hataguza.
Ni kweli Wakenya wako na haki ya kuandamana na kufanya yale yote wanataka kufanya. Na pale bunge tulisema tuko tayari kuongea ili tusuluhishe mambo ambayo yanahusu wa Kenya. Do not allow, Mr. President, anarchy to roam aimlessly in our streets.
The Raila Odinga-led coalition is championing for the lowering of the high cost of living, among other issues. Flora Limuki, TV47.
Well, thank you, Flora Limuki, for that report. Meanwhile, President William Ruto has announced his plans to set up a judicial commission of inquiry to to investigate the mass graves discovered in Kilifi's Shakahola area, allegedly associated with a cult. The president was speaking when he made his first visit of West Pokot County. The following story was produced by Andrew Juma. As the government ramps up its efforts to rescue more people at the vast Shakahola forest, President William Ruto has announced the next plan that the government will engage to ensure suspects behind the heinous act face justice.
Ili kuhakikisha kwamba yale mambo yaliendelea kule Shakahola na ule mtu anaitwa Mackenzie sijui nani, ili isifanyike tena katika taifa letu la Kenya, tunaweka Judicial Commission of Inquiry so that we can get to the bottom of what really happened in Shakahola with the Mackenzie and all his collaborators. Juzi tulitransfer wale wote ambao walizembea kazini, wale commissioners, policemen, watu wa NIS, watu wa CID ambao walikuwa pale maafa ya kiwango ile ikiendelea. Tumewaambia watoke kwanza ndio tujue what really happened. So this week I will be appointing a Judicial Commission of Inquiry so that what happened in Shakahola does not happen again in the Republic of Kenya.
During a church service in West Pokot's Kapenguria, the president stated that he will approach members of the commission to ensure that justice is served and that individuals like Paul Mackenzie, who are associated with the Shakahola church, refrain from harming citizens.
Nitafanya consultation na viongozi wetu wa dini katika taifa letu la Kenya. Tuwe na task force so that we can weed out the characters who want to abuse religion, to run businesses and things that are anti-religion in the Republic of Kenya. That we want to provide a framework agreed with our religious leaders.
The president has also promised to end banditry and the cattle rustling menace in the North Rift region, with local leaders using the opportunity to urge him to resolve the insecurity issue that has largely affected the county.
Na tungekuwa na ombi moja ya kwamba kuna zile inaitwa gazetted administrative units kwa border kati yetu na majirani, divisions, locations, some locations, tungeomba hasa zile za border ziwe operationalized kabisa, ndio serikali iwe karibu na wananchi na iweze kushughulikia mambo ya ukosefu wa usalama katika mipaka yetu.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on his part called on the community to embrace education to better the future of their children.
Na hii maneno ilikuweko ya wizi tuachane naye, tuendelee mbele. And we want to confirm your excellency, hatutaki mtu kulaumu jamii ya West Pokot kwa jumla. Kama iko wezi wa 3, 4, 5 wachukuliwe hatua kibinafsi.
Now, regarding that development of the Shakahola mysterious forest, we will be having a comprehensive update on the specific situation and the story. While the bulletin is progressing, we will be having another story that we'll be giving over to you a few minutes later. But moving on, the busy Nairobi Mai Mahio Highway has been temporarily closed after a section of the road developed huge visible cracks stretching close to 6 kilometers and almost to the Mai Mahio town. The Kenya National Highway Authority has advised motorists plying that route to use alternative roads to stretch their destination as engineers move in to repair the section of the road. Take a look.
Sunday, transport along the Nairobi Mai Mahio road was disrupted, with hundreds of motorists left stranded following damages along the Mai Mahio Narok Highway after cracks emerged at Mafuta area near Mai Mahio. The cracks, stretching for 6 kilometers, forced the Kenya National Highway Authorities, KENHA, to temporarily close the route over safety concerns. The already stranded motorists who were stuck in a traffic build-up were forced to come up with possible alternative routes to make it to their destinations, with some taking little caution about their safety. Kenya National Highways Authority has issued a statement advising motorists to use alternative routes as engineers embark on repairing the road. The alternative routes include the Narok Kisiriri Mau Summit Njoro Turnoff Road and Narok Bomet Kaplong Road. According to KENHA, the cause of the cracks is yet to be established, with preliminary reports attributing it to the ongoing rains and earth movements. However, the road is prone to perennial damages, notably during heavy rains. The route is a busy highway that connects the country's capital to the South Rift, the world-famous Masai Mara Game Reserve, Western Kenya and Nyanza. Moige William, TV 47.
Now, as of the moment, our reporter Willie Dennis has pitched camp at Mai Mahio, where he's following up closely on that situation where the road has been closed. Now I get to link up with Willie Dennis. Good evening, Willie Dennis. Now, right now, being that it is in the night and the road has been closed, and we're having some of the road users who are traveling and might not have had proper communication from KENHA. Is there a specific area that the road has been cordoned off and, the travelers are being asked to turn back?
Indeed, thank you very much, my colleague in studios, Dennis Otieno, coming to you live from Mai Mahio town here in the county of Nakuru. Indeed, as you said, it has been a day of ups and downs for motorists flying from the junction at the turnoff from Mai Mahio to Narok Road, where about 6 kilometers of that section of the road indeed had two cracks at two separate places, where initially we have had instances and incidents of a road having a major crack. Actually, it's a fault. By then it was a fault, not actually a crack. And as we speak as of now, those people from Nairobi all the way, assuming to use the junction, Narok Junction, Mai Mahio Narok Junction, have indeed been forced to head over straight to the Nakuru side, where they will find alternative routes so that they can be able to access Narok and alternative towns. The situation as is not so good, a bit of snarl-ups here and there. This road, classified as C65 road, is a major road in the country where trailers got to turn off from Limuru downwards the escarpment and then to Mai Mahio, and then all the way around 36 kilometers to Naivasha town before again joining A104 roads, which is a trunk road. Dennis, perhaps you could have an interaction and pass on another question, if probably there is.
Just a follow-up question. What are some of the measures that have been put in place by the authorities
Dennis,
to help some of the travelers who were using that road, but now they've been stranded at that specific location, upon the closure of the road?
Yeah, as it is of now, the measures that have been taken by KENHA to avert further disorganization on the main highway for those people who are traveling is they have given alternative roads, that is Narok, Kisiriri, up to Mau Summit. Then they can have a turn-off at Njoro, which is classified as B18. Actually, if this is the case for anyone traveling at around this time and probably is not aware about the situation as is on the roads right now, it's going to be a bit hectic, because from here to Naivasha town is around 36 kilometers. Then you will have another 67 to Naivasha Nakuru town. And then from there to Mau Summit is almost another 40-something kilometers before you head to join that road, bearing in mind that from the junction around, not so far from here, at this junction where you turn off on Mai Mahio Road, you have 87 kilometers to Narok. And if you are headed to Narok, then it is going to be a bit hectic, and any motorist is asked to embrace, to dig deeper into their pockets to ensure that they have more petrol to endure the terrain. Alternative road that has been given is Narok-Bomet Kiplong, classified as B7 by Kenha again, that you can access the routes depending on your destination. And following this, we are seeing a lot of inconveniences, and some of the people plying on this road have been forced to either alight and aboard other vehicles or pay more so that they can be able to be ferried, as it is the situation at the moment. Dennis?
At the moment, any responders on standby in the area ready to contain the situation in the case there is an emergency?
I just spoke to a few the Red Cross team a few moments ago, based at Naivasha, who coordinates with those around this town of Mai Mahio. But they have said actually they have been not given any indication or alarm to be joining for any emergencies around there. As the situation is that section of the road actually remains condoned off. No traffic, no vehicles are moving at that section. Just to try and paint a picture on actually how the situation is, a few years ago when we actually had a vault around that place, it was so big and it was so deep that Kenha actually utilized quite a resource to ensure that they have taken from a borrow pit and filled the vault, so that actually they can repair part of the road that had actually caved in. This will be around 3 or 4 story buildings, because actually was indeed at that time and place as at when this was happening. And it was not so good situation, and actually it was quite risky for even those who give emergency services to access that place. Then we had an initial report and a similar incident further years back before that, where another vault actually had made another crack around there. So a section in between two is where now it is the risk area, and nobody is certain of what is going to happen. You remember, we are in volcanic area. Actually, Mai Mahio is one of the most risky volcanic soils we have around this place of the Rift Valley, where the soil is so loose, extremely loose. Actually, for those who had a few clips circulating in the day, we saw some of these circulating images where water was actually running down and flowing to where nobody knows. And some of this, when it goes down, it makes the crust wet, and that results to further soaking of the soil, and possibly at any pressures this could cause more troubles. But these are issues we are going to see to it if Kenha is going to pick up from them tomorrow. Dennis, back to you, if we could possibly have a final question on this.
Yeah, final question to you, Willie Dennis. The Mai Mahio Highway has always been plagued by cracks whenever we have long rains. Have you had any explanation from the Kenha officials as to what causes the phenomenon, or is it just a case of poor engineering on the road?
Right. Thank you very much for that question indeed. And like I just had a mention about it in the earlier question, the section of this road, actually the soil is so volcanic that even if we could laud the engineers for doing a commendable job, perhaps then they would have to do perhaps a story building of caving in, going down before they could actually place tarmac on the road. This section of the road why it is so, much of the waters that come from Mount Longonot, which is far to my left side, the waters that come from there actually run down to this place and has found its way around beneath the soil here. Nobody understands how this actually happens beneath the soil. You remember also this part is said to have the geothermal steam fields, where the steam fields is supposedly receives its water that is turned into steam from the Lake Naivasha. So there happens to be a lot of seismic actual activities going down beneath the ground, rather not to have much of the geologists. But in the layman's language, you could say there's a lot of activities down there. And sometimes when the earth shakes, it caves in and gives a bit of room for a little shake-ups. And when we have sometimes water running down, it wets the place, and sometimes this road gets so weak. So perhaps an alternative of this will be to permanently change the road to another side where it will be regarded as a bit safe. But as of now, as I sum it up, perhaps tomorrow we'll be bringing you up to speed on the developments in regard to what is going to be going on at that place, bearing in mind that further and senior positions of Kenha will be visiting here, a bit of mobilization to maybe contain the situation and to assess the situation. But these are stories that will be keeping you up to speed to ensure that we brief the motorist on the situation as is. But as of now, it's a no-go zone. Actually, we are not even allowed to get closer to there, seemingly because of the situation as is. Dennis, if that is all okay from me, I take it back to you in studios. Perhaps you continue with other bulletin. From me here in Mai Mahio, it's all a good night.
Well, thank you very much, Willie Dennis Njiru. That is our Naivasha-based reporter. He will be following up closely on that story, and he will be updating us further on it as it develops. But moving on, Azimir Umoja One Kenya Coalition has weighed in on police remarks that they will not allow them hold the scheduled protests on Tuesday this week. Speaking on Sunday afternoon, Azimir leaders said they do not require permission from the police or anybody else to hold the protests. And as Mike Kagongo reports, the coalition leader Raila Odinga in a statement said stopping the demonstrations will be akin to suspending the Constitution of Kenya. Take a look.
Speaking during a church service at Cathedral of Praise Ministries Church in Imara Daima Sunday, Azimir Umoja coalition leaders maintain that they do not require permission from the police or anybody else to hold the protests.
People are joyous. They come to meet us. They listen to us with song and dance. Violence only occurs when introduced by the police with their brutality.
The police have got a more urgent duty to deal with the rampant insecurity and banditry in the North Rift, and also to pursue the killers, those who have killed hundreds of people in Kilifi.
But when a government or people in power illegitimately decides to take away a right that we have given to ourselves through deaths of people, the multi-party democracy, we as Kenyans must stand up and say no.
According to the opposition, Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome and Nairobi Police Boss Adamson Bunke are allegedly the sole source of violence in Azimio, adding that their demonstrations are peaceful.
Wacha makasiriko mingi. Wacha kujipiga kifua. Maandamano haihitaji ruhusa yako au ya polisi. Tutaandamana Jumanne sababu ni haki yetu.
The opposition's remarks come after Bungei said while the constitution allows every citizen to peaceably and unarmed to assemble and to demonstrate, to picket and to present petitions to public authorities, that right is not absolute.
Kama ataendelea na kutisha wananchi, tumesema hapa kanisani, mtu hawezi kujipiga kifua, serikali ya kujipiga kifua na kutoa hasira, kusema mtaniona.
Nataka kuambia Burgei ya kuwa hatujaomba ruhusa ya kufanya maandamano, sababu katiba inatuambia tumpatie tu notification.
In a statement Sunday afternoon, the opposition leader Raila Odinga said stopping the demonstrations would be akin to suspending the Constitution of Kenya. Odinga said, and I quote, "Unless Mr. Ruto wants to suspend the Constitution and rule by decree, we will exercise our right to assemble, demonstrate, picket and present petitions on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, as earlier announced, dark threats notwithstanding." End of quote. According to Odinga, the demonstrations will include a stop at 4 various government offices in the country. Odinga said they shall present a petition to the IEBC showing that the election results were doctored and demand an audit of the servers. They shall equally present a petition to the office of the president proving that the cost of food, fuel, electricity and fees remain unacceptable high. The team will also be visiting the National Treasury to petition for the immediate release of all funds owed by counties and the timely payment of the salaries to all civil servants. Odinga said they plan to visit the Public Service Commission to demand the appointments to public offices be done purely on the basis of merit and inclusivity, not tribe, as is presently the case.
You are tempting the untemptable. Please.
Following President William Ruto's remarks that he is the commander-in-chief, the opposition reminded the head of state that the powers, responsibilities and functions of a commander-in-chief, which he says he is, are clearly spelled out in the Constitution and do not include the overthrow of the Constitution. The Azimir Umoja One Kenya coalition began nationwide demonstrations against the high cost of living, the electoral injustices, among other issues, on March 20th. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, the much-anticipated Azimir Umoja demonstrations slated for Tuesday have been outlawed due to their previous track record, which led to the loss of property and lives. This is according to Nairobi Regional Commander Adamson Bungei. Stanley Nyaringita reports on a second stab by the police to outlaw the Azimir demonstrations.
A face-off between police officers and the Azimir Umoja coalition is looming yet again. This follows a directive by Nairobi Regional Police Commander Adamson Bungei, warning that the planned protests on Tuesday have been outlawed.
So this therefore indicates very clearly to the Kenyans of goodwill that there will be no demonstration within the city of Nairobi because we are guided by the law. And as I put it very clear, as per Section 5 of the same Article 37, we must ensure that Kenyans are safe.
While maintaining his tough stance Sunday, the Nairobi police boss noted that the request to hold the demos, as written by Azimir chairman of the Executive Council, Wycliffe Oparanya, on April 26th, was declined due to the previous track record of the Azimir protest last month, which was marred by violence, loss of property and lives.
The Azimir demonstrations were nothing but peaceful. As such, by this letter, we are declining to allow the Azimir team the go-ahead to proceed with the demonstration, and any such demonstration will be dispersed by law enforcement officers.
After jetting back into the country Friday, following a trip abroad, Azimir leader Raila Odinga urged his supporters to turn up in large numbers and snake their way to Moi Avenue, Kenyatta Avenue, Haile Selassie Avenue and Harambee Avenue. However, Bungei has warned the opposition faction that the police officers are under strict orders to disperse any protesters. Bungei's tough talk comes a month after his address that outlawed the Azimir demos that brought some parts of the country to a standstill.
Well, thank you, Stanley Nyaringita, for that report. Now, on that note, we'll do a short break, but don't go too far. We'll be right back with more news. Wakati
wakati mwingine kama weekend mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki history.
Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county. Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture along with the risks entitled to it to make profits.
I'm a professional financier with a professional paper in banking. However, for fashion, it's something I've always loved ever since I was small.
It started as a baby business. It was all about, you have your machines, the haircuts, wear the heads, bring the scalps.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's continue with a standoff between journalists and followers of Pastor Ezekiel Odera that saw lawyers representing preacher Ezekiel Odera of New Life Church, Cliff Ombeta and Dunstan Omari, having to intervene as journalists were barred from accessing the pastor's church. This is after some members of the church claimed that the media had been biased and is out to tarnish the name of the preacher. Our reporter Ronnie Regan with more.
Journalists covering the development at Pastor Ezekiel Odero met the full wrath of his followers who accused them of being biased and airing negative aspects of the church. His followers say they are outraged by the arrest of the pastor, maintaining that Ezekiel has never been accused of any offense and that the government is out to tarnish his reputation.
Tazama, ni kitu cha kuhuzunisha sana ulimwengu mzima na hata katika Afrika nzima. Wale wote wanaotoka huko mataifa huko wakija huko, wote wanakuja kukimbilia nani? Kukimbilia huyu, kupitia kusikia na kuona kwa TV.
Okay, sijakaa kwa hili kanisa sana, nina miezi miwili kwa hili kanisa. Na hili kanisa limenisaidia pakubwa sana. In fact nilikuwa mtu mbaya sana. Kupitia kwa hili kanisa limenisaidia. Na wakati nilisikia pastor anatajwa kwa mambo kama yale, yenyewe nina uchungu kabisa.
The media has been closely following and updating Kenyans on what is happening at Shakahola and by extension the activities of the now controversial preacher Ezekiel Odero.
Tutaingia moja kwa moja kufanya hiyo kazi, kisha alafu tutarudi na kuwahutubia. Kwa hivyo nikubalie niingie na wanahabari. Lakini Citizen ndio tunaenda nao. Wacha waende tu. Wacheni waende tu. Tulia. Sikizeni. Mimi ndio nimesema tunaingia na watu wa Citizen. Tutaingia na kila mtu ambaye ni wa habari. Hatutaki mtu yeyote azuiliwe wa vyombo vya habari, sababu itasemekana kwamba basi kuna kitu kinafichwa. Kwa hivyo wale ambao ni wanahabari.
The preacher was arrested on Thursday last week for allegedly involving in deaths of controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie's followers in Shakahola, Malindi, Kilifi County.
Kama wakati walipomubeba sijafanya kazi mpaka leo. Ninashindwa ni kutoka hapa kuenda nyumbani, kwa kwani nikifika nyumbani inafaa niwe na shilingi ya kuachia familia.
Ezekiel's lawyers led by Dan Stanley, speaking to the press, stressed that the preacher is not involved in any way in the deaths reported in Shakahola, adding that there is no evidence adduced this far linking the preacher to Paul Mackenzie.
Pastor, there is no iota linking him to the crime that they are investigating. It is illegal, it is unconstitutional, it is what we say, the persecution of Christianity.
Preacher Ezekiel Odero is awaiting court decision on Tuesday this week. Ronnie Reagan, TV 47.
Well, thank you, Ronnie Reagan, for that report. Now, from the story on Shakahola to the story of a conqueror. Now, imagine being visually impaired and having to overcome all odds to prove wrong the negative stereotypes surrounding disabled individuals. This is the inspiring story of Rose Chepchumba, a Swahili and English teacher at St. Barnabas Tegat Secondary School in Kapsabet, Nandi County. Our Nandi-based correspondent Chris Bett had the privilege of meeting with Rose and capturing her remarkable journey.
It is 8:30 in the morning at St. Barnabas Tegat Secondary School, located at the outskirts of Kapsabet town in Nandi County. Despite facing visual challenges, Rose, a Swahili teacher, wakes up early and seamlessly teaches students from one class to another, including those who are visually able. She enters the classroom. She delivers her responsibilities like the rest of her fellow colleagues. At the age of 12 years, Rose lost her ability to see due to health complications, which almost ended her dreams. She narrates her story to us.
Nilisomea pale kwenye shule ya msingi ya Tegat Primary mpaka wakati 2003 nilipoweza kupoteza uwezo wangu wa kuona kutokana na kile ambacho hakikuweza kujulikana ama kubainika waziwazi wakati huo. Hivyo basi nilipopoteza uwezo wa kuona nikiwa kwenye shule ya msingi darasa la 6, nikaweza kwenda kwenye kujiunga na shule ya wasiona kule Siaya ambayo inaitwa St. Oda, ambapo niliweza kumaliza shule ya msingi. Nikaja nikajiunga na shule ya upili pale Nairobi Moi Girls, nikamaliza kidato cha 4 na nikaweza kujiunga na chuo kikuu ambao ni Maseno University. Hapo ndipo niliweza kuhitimu kwenye uwanja huu wa kufunza.
Unfortunately, the medical report confirmed that her condition could not be reversed, and this was a devastating reality that Rose found difficult to come to terms with it. At one point, she even contemplated ending her life through suicide.
Nilipopoteza uwezo wangu wa kuona, haikuwa kwamba ni rahisi. Si kitu ambapo leo ukiamka asubuhi ukaambiwa leo huwezi kuona na jana ulikuwa unaona na siku zingine zote zilizopita. Alafu utafika hapo na kuja kufurahia kwamba kumbe siwezi kuona. Si rahisi. Nilipopoteza mimi ilikuwa kwamba nilikuwa na wakati mgumu sana. Ilifikia wakati
apologize for the hitches that are on that story, the audio hitches rather. I'm being informed that story is being rectified and it will be with us in a few minutes from now. Now, on that note, we'll do another short break, but don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki hii story. Nikifika watu wangu tu wakinipokea na kupokeleka. Umeset the mood. Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer,
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, during the King's Day celebration at the Netherlands Embassy, Ambassador George Orina, the Director General of Bilateral and Political Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, stated that Kenya and the Netherlands will continue to collaborate closely to strengthen trade relations and improve the lives of their citizens. Orina highlighted that the Netherlands has emerged as the third largest market for Kenyan goods and the fourth largest foreign investor in the country. He further added that there are over 100 Dutch companies operating in Kenya, which demonstrates the Dutch government's confidence in Kenya's political and economic systems.
Excellencies, as I conclude, I reaffirm Kenya's commitment to continue working closely with the Netherlands to strengthen and consolidate our bilateral relations. The ambassador did quote for us a famous quote from one of the Secretary Generals of the United Nations. There's one that I like to quote most, and that's Dag Hammarskjöld, and what he did say about the United Nations. And this is what I said, and I quote, these are not my words, these are Dag's words. The United Nations was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. That's what the United Nations stands for. For as long as we are not in hell, please do know that the United Nations is doing a good job, and especially when we are facing all these challenges that we are facing. So to the men and women who continue to drive our agenda within the United Nations, we want to assure you that we owe you a debt of gratitude and will continue to support you in the good work that you do.
On the well-being of President Ruto, on successful implementation of his tour of duty, and to the people of Kenya for prosperity, for peace, and for really a development that this country ambitions to achieve.
Now, a family of 6 escaped death narrowly after a landslide destroyed their house at night at Thongori village in India, Kirinyaga County. According to the survivors, led by the owner of the homestead, Samuel Muremi, the incident occurred at around 2 a.m. when he was in a deep sleep. Could do nothing because he only heard his wife and grandchildren shouting that the house was collapsing. Tabitha Wanjiru, the wife, said a traditional tree fell on their house during the incident, where she had a very hard time struggling to help the ailing husband.
Sasa nikiangalia nikaona si mti. Haya, nikaangalia nikaona imemomoka. Mimi mgonjwa na tulikuwa watu wengi. Sasa
tuko hapa kwa maana usiku wa leo tulisikia mlipuko, tukasikia mgurumo mkubwa. Sasa ndugu yangu akaja akaniita huko nyumbani kwa mama yangu kwenye nimekuja juu mama yetu ametuaga na bado hatujamzika. Ndivyo maana unaniona niko huku, nilikuwa nimekuja niposa tuendelee na mipango ya mazishi. Kwa wakati nilikuwa nimelala kule, tukasikia hiyo mgulumo, naye ndugu yangu akaja akaniita akaniambia kwa ndugu yetu mkubwa kumebomoka.
Hapa asubuhi kwa maana niliambiwa nilipigiwa simu usiku wa saa 7. Nikaambiwa nyumba ya huyu brother wetu